Chapter 5. Never speak from emotion. Emotion feels powerful, but uncontrolled emotion makes you weak. Read that again. The fastest way to lose authority is to speak while you're emotional. Angry, hurt, defensive, excited, desperate. When you speak from emotion, you leak power. When you speak from control, you build it. Emotion is information, not instruction. That's the key. You have a choice. Every single time. Most people believe emotion just happens. They say, I couldn't help it. Yes, you could. You didn't lack control. You lacked discipline. It's not about feelings. It's about discipline. Emotion is information, not instruction. Let's break this down. Emotion is a signal. It tells you something matters. It tells you something feels unfair, threatening, exciting, disrespectful. But signals are not commands. Pain tells you something is wrong. It doesn't tell you to scream at the doctor. Anger tells you a boundary was crossed. It doesn't tell you to destroy the relationship. Emotion is information, not instruction. You have a choice. Most arguments escalate because one person speaks from emotion and the other responds from emotion. Volume rises. Tone sharpens. Words become weapons. Now it's not about solving the issue. It's about winning. And when ego enters, leadership exits. That's the key. Let's look at a common scenario. Two partners arguing. One says something careless. The other feels disrespected. Instead of pausing, they fire back immediately. You always do this. You never listen. You don't care. Now the conversation is no longer about the issue. It's about identity, labels, accusations, absolutes. The fight escalates, all because someone treated emotion like instruction. Now let's change the script. The same careless comment happens. You feel the heat rising. Your heart rate increases. Your jaw tightens. Pause. That pause is power. You breathe once, twice, and you say calmly, when you said that, it felt dismissive. I want to understand what you meant. Slow is strong. Emotion is information, not instruction. Notice the difference. Same trigger, different discipline. You have a choice. Now let's step into the workplace. An employee gets criticized in a meeting. They feel embarrassed, exposed. So they defend themselves instantly. That's not true. You didn't give me enough time. Other teams were late too. Now they look reactive, defensive, small. It's not about being right. It's about being respected. Instead, imagine this response. They sit still. They take notes. They respond calmly. Understood. I'll correct it. That's it. No emotional leakage. No defensive tone. Results will speak. That's the key. Controlled speech builds power. Now think about leadership in crisis. A company faces public backlash. Customers are angry. Employees are nervous. If the leader reacts emotionally, panicked voice, blaming tone, defensive statements, confidence collapses. But if the leader speaks slowly, measured, grounded, we are aware, we are addressing it. Here is the plan. Tone sets hierarchy. Calm dominates chaos. Emotion is information, not instruction. You don't need their permission to stay composed. You don't need validation to regulate yourself. You have a choice. Here's the truth most people avoid. Speaking from emotion feels powerful in the moment. It feels relieving. It feels honest. But relief is temporary. Damage can be permanent. Screenshots last forever. Words echo. Reputations stick. It's not about honesty. It's about discipline. Now let's talk about impulse. Impulse says, reply now. Discipline says, wait. Impulse says, post it. Discipline says, draft it. Reread it tomorrow. Impulse says, say what you feel. Discipline says, say what serves. Discipline over impulse. That's the key. Here's a practical rule. Never respond at peak emotion. Not by text, not by email, not in person.
If your body is activated, your judgment is compromised. Step away. Go silent. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. You have a choice. Create a personal rule. If angry, wait 1 hour. If deeply hurt, wait 1 day. If publicly attacked, wait until calm clarity returns. You don't lose power by waiting. You gain it. Emotion is information, not instruction. Another critical shift. Separate feeling from action. You are allowed to feel anger. You are allowed to feel disappointment. You are allowed to feel frustration. But you are not required to act from them. That's emotional maturity. That's leadership. That's discipline. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being sovereign. Controlled speech builds power. When someone tries to provoke you, they are testing your stability. If they can control your emotions, they control you. Let that sink in. If they can trigger you on command, you are predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. You have a choice. When insulted, you can react, or you can observe. When criticized, you can explode, or you can evaluate. When misunderstood, you can chase validation, or you can let results speak. Discipline over impulse. That's the key. The strongest person in the room is not the loudest. It's the calmest. Calm under pressure signals authority. Controlled breathing. Measured words. Minimal reaction. That presence changes dynamics instantly. Arguments end faster. Conflicts shrink. Respect increases. Because emotional control communicates something powerful. I am not ruled by circumstance. That is dominance. Now internalize this. Emotion is information, not instruction. Say it again. Emotion is information, not instruction. Every time you feel the surge, that is your training ground. That is your opportunity, not to suppress, but to regulate, not to explode, but to lead. You don't need their permission to pause. You don't need their permission to respond slowly. You don't need their permission to be composed. You have a choice. And every time you choose discipline over impulse, you reinforce your identity. You become someone who cannot be easily shaken. That's power. Real power. Not dramatic power. Not loud power. Stable power. Controlled speech builds it. Emotional speech leaks it. You decide. That's the key. You stopped explaining yourself. You mastered your tone. Now you've learned to separate feeling from reaction. You are no longer a slave to impulse. But emotional control is only part of the equation, because even controlled words can be wasted if they are given too freely. You mastered your emotions. Now, let's talk about scarcity.